Namaskar, hello and welcome to Sunset TV. I am Namrata Singh and you're watching Perspective. India's film industry faces a loss of almost 20,000 crore rupees every year due to piracy. To curb this menace, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has taken strong steps to check film piracy in the country. After the Parliament passed the Cinematograph Amendment Act 2023 during this year's monsoon session, the ministry has established an institutional mechanism of nodal officers to receive complaints against piracy. As of now, there is no institutional mechanism to directly take action on pirated filmic content except legal action under Copyright Act and IPC. With the proliferation of the internet and almost everyone interested in watching filmic content for free, there has been a boom in piracy. The above action would allow instant action by the government in case of piracy and will provide relief to the industry. The Act aims to curb piracy, a measure which has been a long-standing demand of the film industry, and the appointment of nodal officers is a major step in that direction. To discuss this and all this and much more, I'm joined by a very eminent panel of guests. I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Apurva Chandra, his Secretary in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. I'm also delighted to welcome Mr. Nitin Tej Ahuja. He's CEO at Producers Guild of India. The guests will be joining us virtually. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and welcome to Sunset TV. Let me commence the discussion with you, Mr. Chandra. The appointment of nodal officers to address piracy complaints is a crucial development. How significant will be the role of these officers in combating piracy? Could you elaborate on the responsibilities and the process of handling complaints against piracy?
Actually, the Cinematograph Act, as you mentioned, was passed in the monsoon session. And we have made the amendment of that Cinematograph Act effective within a very short period of just 2.5 to 3 months by appointing these nodal officers, because that gives an actual mechanism of how this amendment would become effective at the ground level. Even the amended Cinematograph Act provides for punishments which include imprisonment, etc., but that would follow the legal process of filing an FIR and other things. But here, the nodal officer, as soon as a complaint comes, they can pass an order if it is coming from a copyright holder, and they are sure that this is the copyright holder, that they need not conduct much of an inquiry, and they can pass an order to the intermediaries to block that website or take down that content, block that URL. So I think that is going to be very effective for the industry in terms of piracy, because piracy nowadays is mostly on the internet.
Okay. How will you ensure the proper implementation of this new mechanism, Mr. Chandra?
The implementation of this has been given to the officers of the CBFC, who themselves certify the filmic content. So they are aware of the what has been certified. They have the entire record. CBFC has the entire record of the films which have been certified, and if it is being, and they are also aware of who is the copyright holder. So if somebody else is posting it on the internet, then they are the natural repository, and of course it is based on a complaint system. We have also allowed that individuals who are not the copyright holders can make a complaint, but in that case, there would be some sort of an inquiry which would need to be conducted, whether the person who is displaying that content on the internet, whether they have been authorized by the copyright holder or not.
Okay. Mr. Ahuja, piracy has always been one of the most grievous concerns for the industry. How do you anticipate the appointment of nodal officers will impact the film industry's ability to combat piracy effectively? What are your expectations from this new mechanism?
First of all, I would like to thank the Ministry of Information Broadcasting and Apurva for this much needed and most welcome initiative, which is welcome not only by the producers community that I represent, but indeed the entire film industry. The last substantive amendment to the Copyright Act, the Cinematograph Act, was almost 40 years back, at which time the internet did exist. So firstly, the act that was passed in the monsoon session brought the act up to date with the modern reality, which is we are living in a digital age where you can actually, stream a high density copy on your phone, on your computer screens. You can share files. So the act provided for very stringent penalties to begin with, and with the recent appointment of these nodal officers, it actually gives an enforcement mechanism to the entire thing, which which is equally crucial as forming the law itself. So I think it's a hugely significant development which can actually literally save the film industry. And I think the onus is now on us, the producers, to make maximum use of this mechanism by keeping the nodal office informed of any instances of violation that we see.
All right. Mr. Chandra, can you explain the process of filing the complaint with the nodal officers to take down this pirated content? I mean, who is eligible to apply and what steps are taken in case the complainant is not the original copyright holder?
Along with the notification, which specifies the nodal officers, we have given their contact details, including the addresses and the emails on which the complaints can be filed. There is also a performa in which the complaint can be filed. And that performa is a very simple performa where it just shows that you have to say that where is this content being displayed, which apparently is pirated. And then who is the copyright holder in case the complaint is made by the copyright holder himself. And the CBFC officer can, of course, check from the records whether the complainant is the copyright holder. Then immediately an order can be passed without much of an inquiry to the intermediaries. But in other cases, if anybody else, a general person from the public files a complaint, then it will have to be seen that where the content is being displayed, whether that is actually a copyright holder, authorized copyright or authorized by the copyright holder or not. And after that, the order would be passed.
Right. Mr. Chandra, I would also like to ask, like, film piracy is a global issue, with India ranking third in consuming pirated content. There is a report in 2022. So what does this high numbers of visits to piracy websites reveal about the challenges of combating online piracy? And how can content developers and authorities effectively address this issue?
So, because we can enforce our laws only in our country, but it is a fact that a large proportion of the content comes from foreign websites also. But then through the Department of Telecom, we can block those websites and any such content which is being shown in our country. We may not be able to take action about throughout the world, but definitely within our country, we can block those websites also, the apps also, or wherever it is being shown with the help of the intermediaries, in case they are direct intermediaries like YouTube or Telegram or some such, and through DOT if they are website. And we have been doing it in other cases. For Cinematograph Act, it will be the first, but we have been doing it in case of fake news and others. We have been using that extensively in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting.
I mean, one platform is shut, another platform is open to piracy. Are there any provisions to address this? I mean, how will you stop them?
Because the platforms, the intermediaries are providing a platform, but it is the users who are putting in that content. And it is indeed, that is why it is for the copyright holder to be vigilant and provide the information. Then in one order, we can block multiple URLs also. It is not this that we can block, we require only one URL. If there are multiple URLs which are giving content, then those can also be blocked, multiple orders in a single order. And then, of course, it is a question of educating the public that seeing and consuming pirated content is like a theft, it is like a piracy, so that is the other part.
All right. Coming to you, Mr. Ahuja, with the rapid advancement of technology, do you think this Act has all the provisions which will ensure curbing piracy? How do you see the Act adapting to future developments in digital content sharing and piracy?
As you know, technology is always evolving, and unfortunately, so are the pirates. So I'm sure, all of us will always have to be vigilant and on our toes. But I think, this the Act and the mechanism which has been set up is very wide and broad and flexible in terms of, meeting challenges as they come. As Apurvaji pointed out, you can have pirates sitting in different corners of the world, sitting on different servers, but ultimately access to Indian consumer is via registered Indian entity, be it your ISP provider or your telecom provider. So if we as content providers can keep a lookout and notify the nodal officer that, this is where we've noticed or identified piracy, then it will be a pretty large volume of work, but at least the mechanism exists to shut it down. So I think it's a great movement forward, but of course it's not the end of the process, and the onus is on all of us to keep a lookout constantly and also look out for whatever new innovations the pirates may come up with. But
Yeah.
actually, Apurvaji brought up a very, very important point, that which is that the onus is on the consumer too, not just the government or the corporate owner. See, these pirate sites and services are ultimately meeting a demand. 99.9% of us citizens will not even thinking about breaking into someone's house and doing a burglary over there. But unfortunately, theft of intellectual property is not seen with the same gravity. So I think that sensitivity needs to come into the consumer too.
Right, right. Onus is on consumer, very rightly said. Mr. Ahuja, another aspect I would like to bring in, that the amendment includes strict penalties for piracy, including imprisonment and fines. How do you foresee this impacting the prevalence of piracy in the film industry?
Obviously, the larger the potential punishment, the larger it is as a deterrent. And I think the amended act has significantly upped the punishment. And I think a very critical thing to be appreciated in the amended act is it actually links the punishment to the budget of the film. I think 5% of the production budget is the penalty that can be imposed. So, like having a very minuscule fee doesn't act as a deterrent. I think the Act very rightly recognizes it and also actually makes it a variable to the budget of the film, which is, I think, act as a huge deterrent to potential pirates.
All right. Mr. Chandra, the amendment also revises the age-based certification of films. The introduction of more categories for film certification is another noteworthy change. How might this influence the film certification process and the content that reaches the audience?
No, this amendment to the Cinematograph Act has been brought in to bring it in line with the practice now, international practice also, that the UA category, which as of now, the India had 3 levels of certification, U, UA and adults. Now UA has been divided into 3 parts, UA 7 plus, UA 13 plus and 16 plus. So, and it is a more of an indication to the parents and to those who are going to the cinema theater that this is appropriate to this particular age, because otherwise it becomes a very wide category. So 16 plus is something which will be definitely, which will have more content and almost close to adult content. So we will be having these categories, and this has been done in consultation with all the producers. They are also fine with this. And this is more of an indication and not really an enforcement issue, but a guide to the parents that this is what the content is going to be.
Also, tell us about the discussion, the points you had with stakeholders, you had with film fraternity regarding the amendment for the Cinematograph Amendment Act 2023.
We had very wide-ranging consultations with industry and not just the Hindi film industry, but also in Chennai, Bangalore, and the regional film industry, the Producers Guild, and the Motion Picture Association, which represents the foreign film industry. Also, we had wide-ranging consultations most of those concerns have been taken into account while amending the Cinematograph Act. So, for example, now the Act provides that the certificate would be of unlimited duration rather than only earlier it used to be 10 years. So that sort of amendment has been brought in. Then piracy, of course, this was brought in largely because of the demand of the industry and the consultation with the industry. Because earlier the provision of Cinematograph Act, the amendment was only a single point amendment, which was providing for piracy in the case of camera print being taken or a camera copy being made in a theater. He felt that making the scope wider to cover internet piracy, that would be much more useful, because that is how piracy nowadays takes place. So then this age certification was brought in, and also a provision which was earlier, which has been done away by the Supreme Court, that the government of India has the power to again re-examine a film after it has been certified by CBFC. That has also been removed from the statute.
Mr. Ahuja, another big change promised by the new amendment is that film certifications, once issued, will be valid for perpetual period instead of mandatory renewal after 10 years. How do you envision this change being implemented in the practical context of the film industry?
I think it's definitely a most welcome move, and it makes the producer's life easier, because otherwise you have to, each 10 years, you have to renew the certificate. So I think it's a very simple dictat that once you have the certificate issued, it has commercial validity and it has great benefit and convenience for the producer.
Okay, okay. Mr. Chandra, how does this act align with existing laws such as Copyright Act 1957 and the Information Technology Act 2000?
In fact, the amendment which we are talking about regarding the piracy, that actually aligns with the IT Act, because we have defined the offense of piracy in the Cinematograph Act, but the action of blocking, that is going to take place under Section 79 of the IT Act. So it it actually uses the mechanism of 79(2)(c) of the IT Act, and the orders which will be passed by the nodal officers, they have also been appointed under the provisions of the IT Act. And they will be using the powers conferred on them under the IT Act to block the pirated content. So it is like a whole of government approach that we have used the IT Act, which is governed by the MATI, Cinematograph Act, which is governed by INB, then also Copyright Act, which is part of the DPIIT, and all these acts have been used to define what is piracy, and action will be taken under using the powers which are conferred through the IT Act.
Okay, okay, all right. Mr. Ahuja, how can the industry and government work together to educate the public about the consequences of piracy?
To some extent, we already have worked together on this, and maybe we can do some more of it. I think, as mentioned earlier, first of all, we need to make people sensitize the fact that IPR theft is theft, just as theft of physical property is. I think more crucially, we also need to make people understand as to what the effect of such piracy is. I think honestly, there's a perception that film stars are billionaires, producers are rolling in money. If I watch a film for free, how does it affect them? See, keeping aside whether that statement is true or not, the fact is the industry is not made up of 5 superstars or 10 rich producers. There's a whole ecosystem of hardworking, daily wage earners who survive on this industry. And this is true not just on the production side, also on the exhibition side. The guy who's the usher in the theater you go to, the watchman who parks the car in the theater compound. There's a whole ecosystem which is surviving off films. And also, we have to remember that outside of Hollywood, we have one industry which has not only survived but flourished for the last 100 years. We have one industry where a Tom Cruise film first looks at is there a Shah Rukh Khan or Akshay Kumar film coming before announcing its release date. Now, this is a huge heritage and power that we have. But unfortunately, this will not remain if the industry and the community is not making money or is rather losing money to pirates. So I think, together with INB, we can possibly do some awareness campaigns. But I think honestly, this is something which should be inherently known to people that this is theft and we shouldn't be doing it for so many reasons.
Okay, okay. Mr. Chandra, what message would you like to convey to the wider public regarding the importance of respecting copyright laws and supporting legitimate content distribution?
Just to take on what Mr. Ahuja was saying, as a kind of to continue on that also, on that theme also, because apart from the loss to the producers and directors and the actors through piracy, what we also feel is that if the legitimate profits of a film accrue to the producer, the financiers and the others, then that can lead to more creation of more content, more quality content in the country.
Right, right.
And that will provide more employment to our people who are working in the films, not just the actors, but there is a whole team of crew of technical people who are working on the film, in the films. And also it will extend the soft power of our country throughout the world. So that is also a very big benefit. We are, whatever the amendments have been carried out, we are trying to publish even through, through mediums like yours and also through Producers Guild. We are writing to all the producer associations to come forward and let us know wherever the pirated content is available. And also there is appeal to the consumers also that they should not consume pirated content. And because we have made it open that anybody can complain, so we expect that there would be complaints even from the public in general that this pirated content is available here. And I think this is also reassurance to the foreign film industry also, because a lot of people from the foreign films, when they are shown here, they are also worried about piracy taking place in India. So I think that it will assuage their feelings also.
Mr. Ahuja, you wanted to make a point.
No, I'm just totally and fully endorse what Aparuji was saying. And I think we also need to be mindful of the fact that very often, and this is a proven fact, that the money which is being earned by the pirates is proven that it is being used for a lot of illegal and anti-national activities too. So that is all the more reason you need to plug those loopholes and those gaps and make sure it's coming to the legitimate owners and of course all the national exchequer too through taxes.
Okay. Well, on that note, thank you for your valuable insights on this topic, Mr. Chandra, Mr. Ahuja. The recent amendments to the Cinematograph Act represents a significant step towards combating piracy and safeguarding the interest of the film industry. We hope that these measures will pave the way for a more secure and thriving creative ecosystem. That's all I have for you in this edition of Perspective. Thanks for watching.